Welcome back, Noble Einherjar. This is video number 2 of the Valkyrie Elysium demo that I downloaded on the PlayStation 4. It's like a 5 or a 6 gigabyte demo. I wasn't paying attention. But I'm playing it offline. I have no internet connection. So if you can get your PS4 online, you can download this demo. It has at least 40 minutes of content. I can confirm that because the prologue area that I just went through has been completed. There's a boss fight at the end. There are a couple of alpha enemies you'll see early on. This is a real-time action game. Worth noting. And the Einherjar, like the party system that was in effect in the original, in the first 2 Valkyrie Profile games, seems to have been replaced by a support system where you summon AI characters who fight alongside you. It's not really, I guess it's kind of like Dragon's Dogma in that sense. Your party members fight with you, you can sort of give commands to them, but they disappear after a while. So it's not a permanent party system like in Dragon's Dogma. They seem to be going that route. And depending on how you feel about Dragon's Dogma, that's going to affect how you feel about this change that the game has made to the combat. This is no longer a turn-based action RPG. By the way, that crystal over there, that crystal back there is a save area. So you can come over here and save your game here in Odin's Castle, Odin's Palace, whatever it's called. Here's the save area. We can enhance our weapons here. We're not going to do any of this fancy stuff yet. You might end up doing a couple of speed runs later where I try to optimize how I play this game. We're just kind of getting a feel for it. I don't buy games when they launch. This game is going to be launched at the end of September, about a week from now. But I would never buy this game on launch until I knew that it had if it had the disc included Valkyrie Profile, Lenneth, or even the PlayStation 1 version of Valkyrie Profile on the disc, boom, I'm sold. I'm buying this game tomorrow. But that's not how it's going to work. If you find out that's an unlockable feature and it's an emulated version that actually runs decently, then we can talk. But I don't think they're going to do that. They're probably just going to release Valkyrie Profile Lenneth on the PlayStation 4 store at some point. And like a good Noble Einherjar, I'll end up buying it as soon as I get the money on a PlayStation card or something. So there's there's an overworld here. I don't know if you can fly around the overworld like in Valkyrie Profile 1. I know that in Valkyrie Profile Samaria there was like just a regular old overworld with nodes on a map, a traditional RPG overworld, like in Final Fantasy Tactics. It's nodes on an overworld. But in Valkyrie Profile, the original game, they were doing that whole Super Nintendo thing where you're like flying over a Mode 7 arena. Part of me believes that Valkyrie Profile started out as a Super Nintendo game, then Tri-Ace decided, okay, let's actually make this a PlayStation game. But some of the design elements it feels like a Super NES game. Like you had four party members attached to 4 face buttons when you attack. So it felt like a Super NES game that was converted to the PlayStation 1. I don't know if Sakuraba Motoi did the soundtrack for this game, but he did the soundtrack for the first 2 Valkyrie Profile games. So you'll hear some familiar tunes. Or you'll hear, this game sounds like Valkyrie Profile Somaria's soundtrack. Because the original Valkyrie Profile was heavy on the synth. He could do somber, he could do rock, he could do synth rock. Valkyrie Profile mixed the two, but when Somaria came out, it was him sort of saying, okay, we're gonna drop the synth, we're gonna go full orchestral. And I liked it well enough. I need to listen to that soundtrack again. It's been a while. But I was a big fan of the Valkyrie Profile soundtrack. And I think that Somaria is the game that... I think Somaria and... was it Baten Kaitos? The GameCube game that he did? That was the game that I think that put him on the map for a lot of American RPG fans. Old school Sega fans will remember his music from the Sega CD games, like, Soul Feast, Ernest Evans. He did a lot of Wolf Team soundtracks. Oh, wait, hold on. I know how to press, I can guard. Who needs to guard? Press the circle button to dash around. Press the right stick to target lock. 4 square button attacks, followed by that triangle button finisher. Seems to be your strongest combo. The controls are reasonably responsive, but the game feels very button mashy. So, it doesn't seem to be that much nuance to the combat. We'll see how it goes. I've been told this game was not developed from the original Valkyrie Profile developers. Apparently it's a different developer. But thankfully they didn't make a mobile game, so I'm not gonna complain about that. I will be making more Valkyrie Profile videos on this channel. I'm pulling out my PlayStation Portable and my PlayStation 2. I'm gonna hook them up to my capture device. I'll get you some HD content from those games. Y'all deserve it. I've been slacking on that. I got distracted. The goddess, the death goddess Lenneth has spoken to me directly and decided that, yeah, it is time. It is time to make more Valkyrie Profile content on this channel. The internet needs more Valkyrie Profile. We've strayed from her light long enough, I think. And this game might actually get a few more JRPG fans to revisit that game. It's available on Google, what is it? Google Play and the App Store. I would not buy that game. It costs like $15. I would not play a touchpad version of Valkyrie Profile. Now, if you can hook up a controller to it, and the controller is reasonably, and the controls are responsive enough with that controller, I might consider it. I already own the PlayStation Portable game. I have the disc, so I'm not exactly. That app was not made for me. But Valkyrie Profile is getting hard to find, so it might be one of those situations where people might end up looking for that game so that they can finally see what all the fuss is about. I reserve judgment on that port, but I'm not a big fan of touchscreen controls in mobile games. Specifically for games like Valkyrie Profile. It would not work unless you can hook up a controller and play that way. The game's combat's a bit too timing. The combat in that game is timing based, and you can't get that proper timing on a touch screen. Now again, with a controller, if that works, I'd be fine with that. So I'm curious if anyone can confirm that. I used to own, obviously I own the original Valkyrie Profile on the PlayStation 1. I would call it the definitive version, but the PlayStation Portable version is the game I actually beat. It's a perfectly acceptable port of the game. There are some minor annoyances with the menu system and the all of the vertical scrolling areas are poorly scaled on the PlayStation Portable screen. But nothing in terms of the actual gameplay significantly affected on the PlayStation Portable. Having beaten the PlayStation Portable game after playing the PlayStation 1 game for 50 hours, I can safely say the PlayStation 1 version is a very good game, but I would not pay $200 for it. I would spend why spend $200 on the PS1 version? I can't carry more Violet Gems. Why would I spend $200 on a game that costs $20 on a PlayStation Portable? And if I'm being honest, people who wink, wink, nudge, nudge know how to extend a PlayStation Portable. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It means they'll have more options. I will be playing the game based on the disc, but I'm worried that the disc reader on my PlayStation Portable might be kind of mucked up, so we'll see how it goes. I will, before I do anything really nasty, what I'll do is I will play the game as is. Then if I make any adjustments, whoops, screwed that up. Hey, give me a second. You can press the L2 button to throw out your laser whip. Your laser grapple. Excuse me. I don't need my Einherjar yet. I'll whip them out later. I'm playing on the hard difficulty level, in case you're wondering. Is that listed here? Whatever. I thought it was listed here. I'm playing on the hard difficulty level, in case you're wondering. At the beginning of the video, what was at the beginning of the video, I showed you the save menu. It's this is the hard difficulty level. I believe there was one harder difficulty level. I'm not sure. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time I've ever played a Valkyrie Profile game in Japanese. For people who don't know, apparently the American localization for the original game was from the same dude who developed the Metal Gear Solid localization, Jeremy Blaustein, I believe his name is. I want to say he did Valkyrie Profile. Apparently, he did Valkyrie Profile, which was a terrific localization in terms of the dialogue. And he did Metal Gear Solid 1 and possibly 2. And he did one other game, I forget. But apparently Blaustein's a big deal because, oh yeah, I think he also helped out with Symphony of the Night, the infamous, What is a Man, a Miserable Pile of Secrets dub. Yeah, Jeremy Blaustein, was top tier for a while. Whoops. L2, there you go. So you press L2 to whip out your laser and grapple onto stuff. I think my stream. I'm setting up a queue for a stream. I'm trying to set up a Chinese film. Neza, I believe it's called. Nesha. It's a Chinese CGI film that was the highest grossing film of 2019 in China. It's streaming for free on Plex, but it's not subtitled, so you're getting the English dub. I thought it was available on Tubi TV, but it's not. And it's slightly disappointing because I try to watch foreign language films in their original language with subtitles, but in the case of Neza, I don't see the subtitled version here. The game got a theatrical, the movie got a theatrical screening in 2019 in English. In Mandarin with English subtitles. At least in New York, anyway. But this particular version that's streaming on Plex is English only. Again, I'm not opposed to that. It's just that ideally I want to eventually get my hands on the original Chinese subs. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't speak Mandarin, obviously, but it's a thing. Okay, so they're doing the Super Mario World thing, where as soon as the battle starts, they add more instruments. They add more instruments to the musical score when the, yeah, it's an interactive soundtrack. So when the fighting starts, they add a couple more layers onto the music to make it more propulsive. Which is a nice touch. I mean, video games have been doing, like I said, I mentioned more Super Mario World. Video games have been doing this since the 90s, at least. Yeah, of course, it's easy to do on the Super NES, because you just have, like, what, 8 sound channels, and you add an extra... And you add an extra channel of drums to the soundtrack whenever you're riding Yoshi. And this game apparently just adds a couple of layers onto the soundtrack when the music starts. I want to say, what was it? What was that? Yeah, Resident of Fate did that. The battle music would have like 2 or 3 layers on the soundtrack, like 2 or 3 instruments, maybe 4. And then when the characters actually start moving around and fighting, then they add some electric guitars and they start adding some extra drums. So they threw a couple of layers onto the soundtrack once the characters started moving around and shooting. Wasn't paying attention to any of the dialogue, but that's okay. But I do like the music so far. Like I said, it's got that Somaria vibe. So again, if you like the soundtrack, the Valkyrie Profile to Somaria, this seems to be in the same vein. Again, assuming it's Sakuraba Motoi doing the music here. But I would not be surprised if it is. He also did the music to the Dark Souls games, apparently. But I heard most of that soundtrack. I was really bored by that soundtrack. It's just a lot of bombast. Like a lot of choral arrangements, but not a lot. Whoops, here we go. Hey guys. It's like, so these dungeons feel like have kind of a Dark Souls-y vibe, I guess. Like the the areas are kind of open, but there are a lot of arenas, but the combat's obviously not nearly as lethargic and technical. Like I said, it's very button mashy. Like I said, it's a straight up action game. So no, this is not going to make anyone forget Elden Ring. But it doesn't. I have not played Elden Ring yet. I will probably play Elden Ring next year in 2023 because you're never gonna. I might luck out and find a copy at the library in the next 2 or 3 months. Probably the Xbox One version. So you'll get to see me play the least regarded version of Elden Ring. And I'll probably get a chance to play Saints Row next month if all goes according to plan. The Saints Row 2022 remake. Like, it looks fine, but it's disappointing a lot of people because it's very buggy and the combat probably needed a few more minutes in the oven, if you will. Like, they should have tuned it a bit better. Like, a patch could probably clean that up a bit. They'll probably make the combat flow a bit better, but they might do a better job balancing the weapons. What game would that remind me of? Because there were some games that on launch were actually like not great, but when they got patched, they did some balancing and they fixed their controls a bit, and the game just got better. Destructible environments. Or destructible assets. You can't break down the walls or anything. And this game is definitely better than Star Ocean 5. I'll say that right now. Hold on. Okay, no fair. This is Dark Soulsy. Enemies hiding in corners, away from the camera. Excuse me. Maybe I should unleash my Einherjar at least once in this video. R2, no, R1. Well, I have no Einherjar here. Okay, fine. R2 triangle for the lightning. Yeah, combat feels fine, but it's not super responsive. It feels responsive enough, but seems to be a bit of lag when you press that triangle button for the finishing move. By the way, press a square triangle for that little launcher kick. If you want to get an enemy in the air. Otherwise, you just mash on the square button. And after 4 square attacks, you press the triangle button for that spinning sword finisher. Combat's fine, like I said, I mean, you could argue it's about as responsive as Somaria was. But Somaria was like... It was a turn-based game, but it was very turn-based. But they would throw in bits about, like, dashing, and enemies would only move when you move, like, in super hot. Might be a boss coming up here. Okay. No Einherjar. That's fine. I'm not screwed. Ow! Bastard. I'm trying to launch somebody. They launched him. You can only launch him on the second hit. So you press square once, then you press triangle to launch him, but you can't do it after 2 hits. So you have to pay attention to your button timings. Divine Art, Fire Lance. Yeah, so I have lightning now. Divine arts to be acquired by attaining those. Yeah, so you can assign divine arts to the R2 button. So the R2 button is just shift, is like a shift key that opens a magic menu, a divine arts menu. So then we can set that up here. Fire Lance is mapped to the circle button. See in the middle of the screen where it says R2, that diamond inside a diamond. It's like a compass. North is the triangle button. The blue lightning attack is that. That's the blue lightning attack right there. It's like a chain lightning attack. Seems pretty useful so far, actually. Effective against earth element. That makes no sense. Sounds like they should be effective against lightning, but anyway. Sounds like they should be effective against water enemies, but okay. Whatever. And you have this. The Lance of Fire. Effective against ice element enemies. And if I press up on the D-pad during a fight, I can switch to my sword to another weapon, I suppose. My proficiency is high. I can press the square button to see what my combos are. Double slash, triple slash, quadruple slash. You can do a lunging attack. The slash kick is the launcher I was talking about. Press square, then triangle to launch them into the air. Rolling slash, square, square, triangle. This is a knockback. That's a knockback. 3 square and a triangle. Okay. And that's the 4 square button attack. 4 square combo followed by a triangle button finisher. Which seems to be my longest combo, I believe. You can also double slash in the air. You can do 3 slashes in the air. Plummets down and somersault for... Oh, you can press the triangle button in midair. I hadn't tried that. I had to try that. That looks pretty cool. The dive kick. Gotta do the ground pound. Yeah, ground pound. There you go. Now we're talking. No double jumps. Yeah, the frame rate seems to be dipping between like 25 and 40, which isn't great. If we could lock it down to 30, that would be great. I'm sure you're getting 30. I'm sure you can get a lock, 30 on the PlayStation 5. Yeah, don't these games usually, the Valkyrie Profile games, they always come out at the end of the life cycle, right? VP1 came out in near the end of the PlayStation 1. Valkyrie Profile Samira came out at the end of the PlayStation 2 era. I want to say Covenant of the Plume came out before the DS finally died. And weapons can be upgraded from storage camps, level them up, thereby increasing their power, unlocking new moves. Okay, there you go. This is a save area? Yep. So we can do a breadcrumb save here. We're not gonna. We could if we return to Valhalla. We'll see what happens if I return to Valhalla for the end of this video. I'm curious if we can come back here. We'll go there in a second. Is there a map? We're supposed to go to the castle, so we'll head over there later. Let me check a couple of things before we advance. Yeah. L2. There we go. I have to load the next area, so you have to throw in an animation to speed up that, to hide that loading, I suppose. So I'm breaking stuff. There's not much here. Like I said, this feels very Dark Souls-y. Like these corridors and cliffs. Lots of rocks and grass, but not much else. Oh, wait. That looked important. My health is full, so I'm not complaining. When did I get healed when I touched that crystal? Wasn't paying attention. I'm pretty sure that's what did it. Yeah, I do like the music. Nothing else here? Okay, we're out. So we'll do a quick test. So we save here, then we'll start doing all the nonsense. Weapon enhance. So I need... Well, I can't hold any more violet gems, so that seems to be a problem. I have emerald gems. So on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you can see the magic gems I have on the left. And I guess 500 means that's my maximum. That's why it's in orange, I suppose. And the emerald gems, I'll collect more of those. So I have plenty. I can just... So if I level up the weapon now, it becomes twice as strong, and my magic attack becomes twice as strong. Leveled up. So what do I get? I learned a new move. Is this in the air? Oh, when you jump, you can press a directional input plus square. Okay. So what does view this move mean? So it's like a move tutorial. That. If I just press square, I do this. But if I use the left stick, I can do that. Okay. Works for me. So I can't level up again because I need a different kind of crystal. So we're done. So let me go back and see what's going on with that other sword. I need so I need 30 more magic gems, 30 more violet gems, and 150 more azure gems. I still haven't got an azure gem yet. Can I select a rune? I don't have a rune. Okay. So my proficiency is 5 out of 10. So there might be weapon farming in this game. Like in Crimson Tears, right? Remember that game? That was a PS2 action RPG of a dungeon crawler. A dungeon crawler with some Tekken-like combos, as I recall. And there were like, what, 10 different kinds of weapons. You can mess around with different weapons and level them up. They all had different move sets attached to them. So that was a pretty interesting game when I played it. I remember like halfway through it got really boring with things because there were things like mines in the dungeon, so it got kind of frustrating. I don't think I still own that game, but if I still have it, I'll dig it out. No one remembers it, but the old schoolers might have remembered it from back in the day. There was a bit of novelty to the graphics back then too, with the cell shading. Okay. Each skill has a CP cost. When using skills, the total number of CP spent must be below the maximum. Okay, I was supposed to go back, so we'll do that in a second. Learn skills can be enabled or disabled from the acquired skill settings in the Valkyrie's menu. Okay. Were they called divine points in Valkyrie Profile 1? I have to go back and check. Because you could acquire skills, like every character had skills like first aid, which automatically allowed them to heal a party member in between turns. So that was a skill you could improve, and it increased the likelihood that they would activate that skill automatically during a fight. That kind of thing. Like there were, and what is? I think there were some other abilities like countering. So if you leveled that skill up, it increased the likelihood that you would counter an enemy's attack. That kind of thing. It was all automated, so you were just increasing the chances of a favorable dice roll when you increase the skills on those abilities. Bringing skills, upgrade abilities, and actions. Unlocking new ones. So where's the skill tree? Give me a second. I have to go back up. Okay, here it is. Press and hold to learn. What do I need? I need magic. I have 50 magic gems on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. 50 magic. Okay. On the other menu, the gems are on the bottom left. Here, they're on the bottom right. I'm pretty sure user interface demands that information should always be on the same side of the screen if we can help it. That's just me. It makes it easier for people to associate certain information with certain parts of the screen. Makes your menus easier to navigate, right? So we'll see how it goes. Consistency in menu user interface sometimes helps if the games are very complicated. But if you play Valkyrie Profile 1, you know that their menus can get pretty deep. Valkyrie Profile is pretty notorious for like not explaining a lot of its mechanics, so they become Easter eggs. Like, did you know that some weapons have 3 hit combos instead of just 2 hit combos? And did you know that some weapons have 2 hit combos that only allow the first and the third move, and some allow only the second and the third move in a 2-hit combo? It's that kind of thing. Every weapon has like 3 potential actions. Up to 3 potential actions. Some only allow the first or the third action. Some only allow the second and the third action. It's like the first action might be an overhead attack. The second action might be a launcher. The third attack might be a juggling attack. Might be like a straight ahead attack, like a horizontal attack. A horizontal attack, a vertical attack, and a launcher. Something like that. The game never explains that. It's completely obscure. It's only conveyed in X's and O's. Like an L King song. It's stupid. I don't know why they did that. It's like it's a secret. It's like a menuing secret for like high-end players, I guess. I discovered it by accident. It was never... the average person would have had to go to an FAQ to learn it because it wasn't in the manual. Valkyrie Profile came in the manual, in case you're wondering. We don't need to make our attack stronger yet. A quick evading. Double jumping sounds good. Increases the health gauge, sounds amazing. So we'll learn the double jumping, because double jumping sounds like a good idea for... It sounds like a good thing in a video game. Increase the health gauge's maximum value. We'll probably end up doing that. It also costs me... How many CP do I have? Yo, what's CP? Oh! So it's like, there's a capacity? Recommendation, we only have 1. So I press triangle for the recommendation. I'm sorry for the menuing. Again, this is a research stream of a demo of an unreleased game. Bear with me here. This game is not coming out on the Xbox One, is it? I don't think it is. Japan. Thanks, Japan. Why do you disrespect Microsoft so much? Is it because they're American? That's got to be the reason, isn't it? Or maybe it's because they're just not Japanese. Maybe it's not an Maybe it's not an anti-American thing. But in Japan, it's Nintendo and... What is it? It's Nintendo and Sony, and Microsoft doesn't even rate. Although I think the Xbox Series S was outselling the PlayStation 5 for a couple of months. Probably because the PlayStation 5 was so hard to find. So we'll return to Valhalla. Oh! I lose everything in this chapter? Well, I'm not going to want to do that. So we'll just reload the game save. We'll see how it goes. So does that mean I lost all of my crystals and such? Because I already used them to level up my character. Isn't that the point? Well, I can see if that's a thing in just a second. I'll double check my menu. You saw how many crystals I had, so we'll see how it goes. What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets. What are we doing? Okay, so I don't have my... Okay. So I don't have my fire lance. That's amusing. Skills. Just a second. So I got all my crystals, so I got all my gems back, I guess? It's been something else that I got. So I'm not leveled up either, so I lost all my progress, period. Okay, that's an odd decision, but I guess I understand it. So can I like buy? So can I like constantly buy these crystals? Like here. Huh. I'm not gonna save this. I'm gonna reload my game save anyway. And what's this? Double evade. Increases health. Isn't square with less than 10% of the health. A glory kill. And you can set it to manual. Okay. We'll do a manual finish for later, I suppose. So I can't level up my weapons. I don't have the thing. Yeah, I don't have the thing. So I probably have to reload that game save. So when they say I lost all my progress, they mean I lost everything I did while I was inside the dungeon. How do I load my game save then? Do I have to go back to I can go back to the title screen, I guess. We'll do that later. Let me see what my options are. I said it's a research tree. Okay, well, let's go back to the title screen. Would I play this game on day one? Yes. Would I pay $60 for it? Absolutely not. But this seems decent. I'll give it another hour, of course. But yeah, the demo has proven its point. It's a game I might want to play around with. It might not add up to much, but and I'm gonna read the reviews when it launches. But after playing this demo for an hour and a half, I think this thing might be okay. I'm not cursing to the gods that, you know, it's not the same Valkyrie Profile games I grew up playing. But this thing seems fine so far. Like, I've played games where it's like, yeah, you took a sequel and you made it way worse. You basically took this IP, made it into a completely different game and made it terrible. This seems okay. But again, it doesn't seem like $60. Yeah, when Indivisible came out, that was a situation where I said, okay, this looks promising. I played it. It does some things better than Valkyrie Profile. Like, there's more diversity in the options you get in combat, but and the platforming is objectively better, but it's also more complicated, and it's going to be very frustrating halfway through the game. I believe I already sold that game. Indivisible's fine for like $10. But I would not you would not go into that game expecting Valkyrie Profile. Like, it's fine. For what it is. there's some very like Valkyrie Profile's platforming was broken, janky, and frustrating, but it was almost never required, except like a couple of areas, like a couple of very tiny areas was platforming ever required to make progress. But in Indivisible, the platforming is way tougher. It's because they know that they have much better controls for the platforming in Indivisible. So their logic was, okay, let's make legit frustrating platforming as part of the game. And my argument is that should have been shunted off to like optional dungeons and things like that. It should not be like there was a place like I think 5 or 6 hours into the game where you're inside some kind of some ice caves. There's some really hard platforming in that section. And a lot of people are just going to drop the game as soon as that happens, as soon as that shows up. But Indivisible's fine. It was on sale for $5 on the Xbox One a while ago before the pandemic, so it's probably still cheap. I would spend $5 on Indivisible. It's a decent game. But apparently it bombed. Or at least it bombed at GameStop, because they were clearing that thing out in like 2 or 3 months. It must have been a massive failure in terms of a physical release. But it was a decent enough game, I think. So we'll in a second. We'll be playing. Of course, we're gonna play Valkyrie Profile on this channel. This is Valkyrie Elysium. It is free. I'm playing it offline, so I hope you get a chance to sample it while it's free, because you won't need to keep your PS4 online. But if you have 6 gigabytes of data on your data plan, see if you can download this game.